YouTube, welcome to this week's live stream. I'm Dave from TVR Creators, and if you're joining us for the first time, I make weekly YouTube tips help you build your brand. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe now. Now in this week's live stream, as you can see, we're changing it up again, but we're going to be looking at strategies on how to look and how to set up your home studios, thinking about what space you might need or not need, what gear you might want to think about, and so much more. There's a lot of great value to get through tonight, so feel free to drop your questions as we go on, and I will do my best to answer them. If you watch this on the replay, feel free to ask your questions in the comments, and I will do my best to answer your questions as soon as possible. So the first thing I want you to think about then is value. Yeah. Absolute value. Now, I really want you to think about your setup. So, you know, if you're making weekly videos or live streams, we'll look at those things individually. But I want you to think about what space you might need. So do you have an attic or garage or a spare room, or maybe you've got a bit of room under your stairs, or wherever you think you might have a bit of room? And you know, when I first started, I would literally just film wherever I had enough space to film. I would just set up the old point and shoot cameras and off I would go. And there was nothing wrong with doing that. But you know, if you want to take your channel to the next level and make things easier for yourself, if you can set up a good space for your videos, that is a great thing to think about. So say if you've got a spare room or an attic, let's just use that as an example, or basement, or however your house is laid out, or you know, wherever you live, really think about what you might want in that. So to begin with, your setup could be quite simply your phone, and as I've said in multiple videos, especially for you guys that have been in a long time, definitely have a tripod. And I quite often joke about how the tripod will become your #1 friend, because it will be your cameraman, your director, you know, it will be the thing that holds your camera. And you know, back in the day, I used to sit my camera on top of like some books or a shelf or something like that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but there's no reason why you can't get yourself a cheap tripod on eBay or something like that for sort of like £10-15, something like that. You know, that would be about $20, and you know, sort of bear that in mind. So in your studio, you know, you're going to think about, right, what do I want in my backdrop? This is something I'm always thinking about, I'm always investing in, changing. And what I'd recommend actually is, depending on what type of videos you make, if you're thinking about, if you're, you know, a food channel, musician, perhaps just type in musician, type in gamer, and see what type of things they have in their backdrop. And from that, you can get ideas of what you could have in your studio. And this is something to bear in mind. So from that, I'm not saying you should copy, because you definitely shouldn't copy, but that might just spark a few ideas of how you can sort of evolve that into your home setup, your backdrop, if you speak. Now, I like to have it sort of fairly sort of, you know, sort of black, and just because I just find it cleaner, looks like a studio, that sort of thing. But you know, I'm debating all the time about perhaps getting a shelf with having my cameras and stuff in the background. But obviously that all costs money, but at the same time, you know, I'm gradually evolving my studio so it looks visually more interesting. And something you'll see tonight, actually, I just want to show you what I think of this, is I also have Cam 2. So I've got 2 cameras set up today, so this is something I will be playing with on today's live stream. This is something we can look at later. Now, if you're doing live streaming as, say, a gamer, or just live streaming in general, you want to think about something that's simple, something that's inviting. You might want to have, I personally think the easiest way to do it is a webcam, but you don't have to. You can use cameras, you can use your phone, you can download apps to use your phone as a webcam, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I personally just prefer webcams, just because they tend to be more plug and play. You'd have to download any drivers or apps or mess around with settings or anything, and then just off they go. And there probably are some of you that may watch this that go, actually Dave, I could use my phone or actually use my cameras easy. If you find doing that easy, go for it, because ultimately cameras do give a better picture, as you'll see when you watch my Tuesday videos. If you haven't already, go and check them out on Tuesdays. They are brilliant. Now, if you're getting value from today's video already, smash that like button. So I want you to think about your home studio. So you've got your tripod, you've got your, let's just say your phone or a camera, and you want to think about, right, how could I level up my studio? So, you know, you're starting to think of the backdrop, maybe, you know, if you're into books and stuff like that, you might want a bookshelf in the background, and you want to set up something more specific. I don't know, if you're in a garage, you might have your car in the background, but obviously you don't want your number plate in, just for, not to be manners, but whatever. And something else you might want to figure out is maybe themes. So, you know, if you are a cooking channel, you might want to be in a kitchen, for example. That would make sense, wouldn't it? You know, film in your kitchen. You could set up your kitchen a certain way so it looks like some of like one of these cooking shows or something like on TV. Or if you're a musician, something I see a lot with musicians, which is awesome, have posters of their favourite bands, maybe their favourite guitar or something in the background. You know, it just makes it look more visually interesting. And then from that, some of the things I want you to then think about is gear. What gear that you would want in your studio? So again, we're thinking about just general YouTube video content creation or live streaming. So again, you know, you have your tripod and your camera, and then you might want to think about lighting and audio, because obviously those are the two most important things to know what type of video. Now it's quite hilarious when you watch people on news reports and that, how they're on their laptop and they're sort of, you know, the camera's looking up halfway up their nose and they've got no lights on and they're sitting in the dark and all this sort of stuff, and it's just really, really distracting, and they've got no sort of microphone or anything. But just by having a microphone, you can get a clip-on mic for, you know, £10-15 again. You don't have to spend wages on a microphone. And what's good about them, on a lot of phones, they will plug directly into your phone. If not, you can buy an adapter for literally a couple of quid, again off the internet. Easiest way to do it. You know, if you've got like an iPhone, etc. And what I think about that is just a great way to just boost up the quality of your video, and it's something to bear in mind. So if you don't want to think too much about your studio or your setup, just by upgrading your microphone to an external one is a great way to go about it. Now, if you want to spend a bit more money, you can get wireless clip-on mics. There's a fantastic microphone out there. I've been completely done with all the name of it off the top of my head, but it's really good. You know, you can clip it on yourself. It's wireless. It has a good range. You can turn away from the camera. It still picks up your audio, and that's something you want to bear in mind. But that costs about 100 quid. But again, you know, you want to invest, you know, if you want to grow your audience, grow your fan base, your community, which is ultimately what you want, you know, you're going to have to invest some money in this, because ultimately the more you invest in it, the more, you know, it looks like you care about your audience. Now, I'm not saying that you have to spend hundreds or thousands of pounds or dollars on your home studio. I definitely am not saying that, but just invest a little bit on just upping your game on perhaps, you know, a half decent microphone, like again, £10-15, and it's just an easy way to sell. Now, if you've got a camera, there's a couple of things you could do. You could have a clip-on mic that just clips onto you, a wireless one. You could get a shotgun microphone that just, again, clips onto your phone or on your camera. A lot of cameras, especially if you've got the Canon M50, see what I did there, especially if you've got the fantastic Canon M50, it has a clip on the top, so you can just put the shotgun mic on the top, and if you're only about this far away from the camera, it does pick up some great sound. But obviously, if you're a bit further away from the camera, you might want to think about, you know, a clip-on microphone, or perhaps putting the shotgun microphone on a second tripod. And there's something else you want to think about. And in a moment, I'm going to talk about some little silly things that you may not even think about to help with your studio. Now, when it comes to lighting, let's just have a brief look. If you can see here, I don't know if you can hear me because the sound is from that camera. It's just how it's set up. But if you look here, I've got the softbox light here, which is really good, which I like. I've not gone on at the moment, just because the webcams do not like softbox lights. But if you're doing weekly YouTube videos, I highly recommend getting yourself one of these or a pair of these, because the soft light they give off is fantastic. So if you're using a phone, just go back to the main camera, if you're using a phone, or if you're using a camera, like a proper like mirrorless camera or an SLR, a digital SLR, I highly recommend getting a softbox light, like you can see here, because the quality of light they give off is a really nice soft light that cameras and phones especially really like. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, if you're doing live streaming, you might want to get one of those circle lights. I've never bothered with them just because You know, I've got loads of lights now, but I know lots of people do it, and they are really good. And you can get frames that clip round your phone or your camera, and you actually get tripods that come with them built on as well, which is quite handy. And you can have them, you know, clip onto your phone and tripod, and they give off again a very nice soft light, which is really nice. And if you live stream as well, I believe that webcams as well, if you're using a webcam for live streaming like I am now, and they like this. Now you probably think, what am I using at the moment? Let's just have a look. If we go to cam 2, I'm just shouting a little bit because the microphone's over there on that one. I've got 2 lights now. I'm just blinding myself. I've got 2 smaller LED lights. There's one over there which you can maybe sort of see in the corner, which is giving off like a blue light, which is really nice. I'll get confused with the cameras now. And that gives a much softer light. And I can actually change, I'm not going to mess around with it now and bang my head or something, but you can actually change, what I like about those little lights, you can change the brightness of them and the heat of the light as well. So depending on the sensitivity of your lens or your camera, you can adjust and play around with that. And what I like about these 2, they actually come with interchangeable gels, different colors, so that makes it really cool. So as you can probably see down here, as I blind myself again, you can see, if I go back to cam 1, you can see here, as I put my hand in front of it so don't blind me, you can see I've got an amber orange gel on this one, and it just gives this nice sort of fiery feel. As we were saying last week, it's like, you know, Dave the Storyteller, which I thought was quite cool. I just thought it was quite cool, and I made change around with that. This one came with like an amber, blue, white, just to make it even more clearer perhaps. And I can't remember what the other colour was. I'm not going to go trim through the box, but you get the idea. So that's something you would bear in mind. Now, something else I've seen, if you want to play with lighting, now obviously you can record near a window in the daytime, obviously. There's nothing wrong with that. I find if you get your camera or your phone and you have it right next to the light, it just give off, it just pick up the light ray well. But just find on certain lenses or on certain phones it may not be fantastic, but I have found through experience, even with the light next to the window, if you have a softbox light, say that 10 times fast, and crack on with the value, if you do have that, it just gives a bit more light. So you fills up your face, it makes a shot look more professional. So you have that sort of natural light plus sort of semi-natural light from the softbox, and just gives a really nice shot. And I do have a video about that, so go and check it out on the channel after this video. And it just really improves. So I cannot recommend the softboxes anymore, and you can get a set of, there's links to most of the things I'm talking about today in the description, so go and check it out. But I believe you can get a set of 2 for roughly about £50, which will be about $60. I'm not great on conversions, but you get the idea. But it's about sort of $60, something like that. And that's a great bit of value. That's for a set of 2, and they come with these really nice bulbs, lamps, sorry, for you techies out there. And they give off, like I said, a really nice light. So I cannot recommend these enough. All right, I'm going to do it. You're going to get value from this video. I can't help myself. Look at that, there's the value. I'm just going to have a brief, we're just going to take a break for a second. I'm just going to see who's in the comments, so bear with me if you watch this on replay. Feel free, as I'm looking at the comments, to ask your questions in the comments, and I will answer them as soon as I can. I'm just going to look at the live comments at the moment. So, hello Sam, welcome here. Hello Xander, welcome. Is there anyone else? And if there's any silent listeners watching this live, welcome to this week's live stream. If it hasn't refreshed properly and I've missed anyone, I apologise. But I just want to say, just briefly before we carry on, thank you for joining us. So if this is your first time here, I'm Dave from TVR Creators, and I make weekly YouTube tips to help you build your brand. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe now. Right, so I'm just going to have a brief look to see if I missed anything. So I've talked about phones, cameras, your setup, and boom. Okay, so I want you to think about now, I want you to think about the space, and let's talk about some of the things you may not think about once you start getting a bit more into this. So, you know, you've got your tripods and your cameras, and we've gone over that. So if you're doing live streaming like I'm doing today, or if you're just going a bit more professional, these are some of the things that you may need. You may need, actually, if you can just see them on, putting up there, if you can see the grips on top of that backdrop, I've now got a whole pack of them. And they are really, really handy, just for holding cables together. If you've got too many cables about, they're really good for holding up whatever your backdrop is. Underneath that, I've got a frame, which I got offline again. It does come with some backdrops, but I found if you get some nice material, it just hangs more naturally and just looks more professional. So that's something I would bear in mind. You don't have to have black. You can have a cool pattern. You can make something. You could have your logo on it. You could have, I don't know, you could have a you could have a pinky blanket for, you know, whatever. And again, something like a lot of live streamers especially do, and having like shelves and stuff. This is something I've been thinking about, you know, upgrading my studio, and perhaps having like a shelf with some of my cameras on show from old to new. Showing off some of my films, my Roman helmet, you know, little things that mean a lot to me. I'm a little Picard figure, I don't know, silly things like that. So things that mean something to you. So your audience, it's almost like storytelling. Go with that theme again. So it's almost like you're betraying yourself, and people get to know you subconsciously without even realising the type of things that mean a lot to you. And if they're liking your content and liking your videos, then they're probably going to like similar things anyway. So they're like, oh yeah, I like that, and oh, that's a cool camera, or oh yeah, I like that, and that's, you know, that could be another way to entice people in. So thinking about your studio, and the amount of cables that you'll need is incredible. So I've just bought a second webcam, which is I'm now using as Cam 2, only because it almost felt too bright. It almost felt like it made everything too bright, and I didn't like that. I quite like this sort of, you know, because this is how it actually is. You know, it's almost like medieval. You know, got a fire going in the background, sort of pretend. You know, that sort of thing. It just feels more, I don't know. It feels more relaxing. Where the over brightness, if you can see the contrast, you know, it just makes, you know, it's all right, but it just looks a bit too over bright and doesn't look very interesting. I just think it looks more interesting with the contrast look better. It's probably just a better webcam. Again, why, for those of you that are a bit braver, I would probably recommend, to be fair, playing around with getting yourself some mirrorless cameras and using them to live stream. But if you're doing just weekly videos like I do on a Tuesday, I use the Canon 50 and it's brilliant. The kit lens that comes with that is a really good kit lens, and you can upgrade it with other lenses depending on what type of shot you want and stuff like that. So that's something to bear in mind. I personally would highly recommend, you know, if you want to up your game and your studio, I would highly recommend getting yourself a decent camera, something like the Canon M50 or maybe the Sony ZV-1 or something like that. And they are really good cameras, and you know, you can turn the they've got turnable LED screens on them that are, you know, touchable and stuff like that. You can turn around so you can see what you're filming, which is obviously great. The lenses on them are fantastic. They come with external microphones. Now, there's something I want you to bear in mind if you do buy a camera. Obviously, if you're doing it for video, make sure, for goodness sake, make sure it's got a mic jack. Otherwise, you're going to have poor sound because you'll just be stuck with the internal microphone, or you'll have to record your sound separately, and then you'll have to mess around dubbing in the sound. And that's something that can take a lot of practice to get good. And even if you get good at it, there might be times you might not get it quite perfectly, and then people go, how come you're doing this? You know, like some sort of Chinese film or something. So just, you know, bear that in mind. That's why I would highly recommend the Canon 50, because it's still okay, it's about sort of 500-600ish, but it's still cheaper than getting like a full-blown, you know, $2,000 camera or something silly like that. And especially if you want something that's easy to use as well, that's what I like about it. So you don't really have to play with too many settings. You can just point and shoot like you would in the old days with the old point and shoot cameras, stick it on a tripod and off you go. Now, the things you might think about is your computer setup, and you might want to think of sort of a half decent computer. I would highly recommend just get something half decent. Don't spend any less than 500-600. It's probably the easiest way to go about that, but I've talked about it in a previous video, and I'll perhaps talk about that again in another video in more detail. But the things you might want to think about is, you know, upgrading your studio. Like, I'm always doing that. So I've been adding in a few extra lights, so it gives a softer, darker light, so the webcams can handle it better. That's just how I've set it up. And also I found when I've been doing my thumbnails, actually, because you probably noticed I tend to take my thumbnails in my studio, and I find with the smaller lights I can do some really cool things with shadows and stuff, which have actually, I think personally, have made my thumbnails look more interesting and more professional. So that's something else you might want to bear in mind, you know, when you're up in your studio. So, you know, and another thing you want to think about, if you can set up somewhere that is your base, where you set up your videos on a weekly basis, especially like me if you're making videos every week, and for many of you watching this video now, you know, you want somewhere where, like, I went through a phase for a long time when I first started doing this, where I would just sort of find it anywhere in the house type of thing, and I'd be setting up, you know, everything all the time, and that's a real pain. You don't want to be doing that all the time. Smash that like button if you're getting value, and throw out your experiences in the comments, please. I'd be interested to see how you think about that. But I personally do feel that I highly recommend, it's highly important to have a space. You know, if it is your attic or a garage or a spare room, just so you can walk in, and okay, you might, you know, still have to set up your light and stuff, and maybe a different camera angle and stuff like that, but you don't have to set up everything all the time, you know, the whole backdrop, the whole whatever. You can just walk in, turn on your camera, change the camera angle, decide what you're doing today, and off you go. That's not how I make videos, but you get the idea. So it's really nice to have that space. And, you know, a few little things I want you to bear in mind. Actually, when you're setting up your studio, I've got a big see-through box where I've got spare cameras, spare cables if I'm a bit short on a certain, you know, microphone. If I need an extra tripod, I've got about 3 or 4 tripods now. So I go to my sort of what I call my tech box, and, you know, I can put stuff away if it's getting too much around in the studio. But, like, you know, as you can't see in a minute, but if I point the camera down, there's cables everywhere at the minute. Which is quite funny, but, you know, it's just something to bear in mind. I've got a shelf at the minute now that's got all my old cameras on that just sit there getting dusty, if I'm honest. But I do think it'd be really cool to have them in the background, because it would just be something cool to look at, wouldn't it? It'd just make all this space here perhaps just look a bit more visually interesting. And again, something you want to bear in mind. So we're just going to have a brief look at that. I'm just going to see what's going on in the live chat. Brad is in the live chat. Welcome. Here he is. And any of the silent listeners, because I know there are those of you that do watch on a weekly basis that aren't signed in for whatever reason, thank you and welcome here again. If you've got any questions, knock them in the live comments. It's always interesting to see what you have to say. I'm just reading the comments. Okay, so I want to talk about what I'm thinking of setting up. So for those of you that are here on a weekly basis, I've been playing with the idea of having multiple cameras, so let me know what you think of this. So at the moment I've got, you know, cam 2, cam 1, cam 2, cam 1. I quite like doing that. And I may play around with different angles of that. I'm being experimental. I've got multiple extension USB cables, so I can put the cameras pretty much whenever I want. I was playing with the idea maybe have one closer so I can be like that, but I don't know, that might be a bit silly. I was playing with the idea of maybe the cam 2 could be in different spaces each week just to make it interesting. Please feel free to comment what you think about that. Something else I was playing with you guys, and this is something, you know, you could be thinking about as well when you're doing your home studio, is I could change the gels on the bottom light. I could eventually maybe get another one and have 2 different colours going up. You know, that'd be interesting. Something else you probably see a lot of live streams. People do live streams, especially gamers. They have RPG lights, so they basically have different colours all over the place. They have like purples going to one angle and blue going the other way, and that's something you could do as well. That always looks really awesome. The only reason I don't rush to do that, if I'm honest, I have really stupid eyes where the more lights I have, the more I just get blurred and I just can't see what I'm doing, so it seems a bit pointless. Even at the minute I feel a bit like blurred out. And if you want to support the brand, Feel free to check out our merch if you've already done so. You rock. And actually, on a more honest way, if you really want to support our channel or any creator that you really like, click on one of their videos and just watch to the end, because that tells YouTube that video rocks, and then it will show it to a few hundred people, and the more people that do that, the more people will watch it. And you could say, well, why don't I just watch my own video 10 times? You can do that, but then YouTube actually catches up on you and deletes those views and then just stops showing it to as many people. So that's something I've done in the past, and it just shoots you in the foot, so it's probably a little pointless. But if you have lots of, you know, core fans like you guys that watch every week, that brings me value by you guys doing that, so thank you. I've been enjoying all the stuff that you've been doing, which is really awesome. And I think we're going to go into the after show. So if you've got any questions, put them in the live stream. If you watch this on the replay, feel free to put it in the comments below. I'll do my best on any questions about live setups, what programs to use. Oh, briefly actually, I do use a program called OBS, which is how I do my live streams. It's free, and you can download it. It works on most computers. And it's really good at doing different setups and making it really easy to set up your microphone and stuff like that. And there's also one, is it Streamlabs? Don't count me on that, because again, I've been done with all the words. If I don't use it every week, I forget what things are called. But there are other ones as well. And obviously there's ones you have to pay for as well, but just bear that in mind. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. Hope you got value from today's video. Again, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And feel free, the question of the day then, what is your home studio setup like? Or what gear and what backdrops are you thinking of having in your home studio? I'll be really interested to see what you have to say about that. So thank you so much for watching. And this Tuesday video is going to be awesome. It's going to be an unboxing video. So look out for that. 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. for you core fans who want value. So thank you again. Keep doing what you're doing. And as always, guys, you guys rock. And for the core fans, I will do a mini after show. Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed that. If you core fans are still here, I just want to thank you absolutely again for watching tonight. I felt I rambled a little bit, but let me know in the comments. But no, honestly, thank you so much for joining. I just want to thank those of you that are in the live stream. Thank you again, Sam. Thank you, Xander. Thank you, Brad. And thank you, any of the silent listeners who have been watching. I know Leslin does, so he's probably in there, and Perry's probably there somewhere. But yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate that. So let me know, do you like the two cameras? Is that cool? Sam, yeah, OBS. I didn't realise you used OBS. Wicked. Do you like it? Let me know what you think to that. I think it's I find once you get used to it, it's a really good program. But until then, it takes a while. But once you get used to it, it's a real resourceful bit of gear. I really like it. Yeah, I've been really liking the two cameras, so I may play around with different angles, stuff like that. That's something to bear in mind. Oh dear. Let's see, any questions? Alright. Okay guys, I'm going to go now. I'm feeling tired. No, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys got value. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Have a great weekend. Keep safe. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below, because you guys rock. 100% agree, Sam. 100% agree. Right. Have a great weekend, guys. As always, you guys rock.